Everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat at Shirat David, and our learning is sponsored for the month by Stephanie and Charles Sackel in memory of Avram ben Bracha and Yosef Gideon Yaakov ben Penina Zatzal and Carol and David Novaseller. And also, of course, we have this week is from David and Tracy Zayed in memory of Ezra ben Esther. And the Soich Shakol Yisrael. And everyone else should be well, and everyone should have everything good. Okay, let's continue our lesson now. So we're in Likutey Halachos, Hilchos Tzitzis Beis, and we're up to letter Beis. And Beis, isn't that nice? 2 of 2. Baruch Hashem. So we were learning this concept of the Mimer Sosam, and where a person can say "Ayim ekayim kevaydai," and he could really lift himself out of any dismal situation a person may find himself in via just recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu is covered. Ayim ekayim kevaydai, where at Kadosh Baruch Hu is your glory. It says now, v'zeh bechinas tzitzis she'im tikun habegadim. So we learned. We learned a lot that this idea that tzitzis is the tikkun for the begadim, that it really the tzitzis is our main beged that we wear, and as we say, right? When I see the tzitzis, I can remind myself of that really, what am I doing here in this world? What's my purpose in this world? It really helps to ground me where I need to be. Tikkun habegadim. Shmira min ha-klipas, and that's the biggest shmira that we have from the klipas, because the world is full of klipas. The world is full of husks of impurity. Wherever we walk, wherever we go, there are other klipas. And we said that the klipas really want to attach themselves to the begadim. Why the begadim? Because the begadim are the outside, is outside the guf, is covering the guf, is covering the mayach, is covering the seichel, and it wants to attach itself to the lowest realm. Malchus is the lowest of the spheres. Malchus is the lowest, but Malchus also encompasses all of the spheres. The same way that a person has in their body that we know. That when we, even the halacha goes it's so amazing that, when you're taking a shower, how you're supposed to wash yourself. Halacha tells us what we're supposed to do. Right? We're supposed to first wash our head, then we wash our right arm because that's chesed. We wash our left arm because that's gvura. We wash the torso, the body. That's because that's teferes. Then we wash the right leg, which is netzach, and the left leg, which is haid. Then we wash the yesod, the bris, kodesh, and then we wash everything off, and that's the malchus. Unbelievable. Mamash, it all falls in. Everything is all connected. So the shmira min ha-klipas. So we said that the begadim is the shmira min ha-klipas because you don't want the klipa to necessarily attach itself to the person. So they wear the begadim. And the tzitzis, when they wear the tzitzis is the shmira for the begadim, that the klipa won't attach itself to the beged. Because the begadim is an aspect of kavod, honor, glory. Why? How do you know this? Ki Rab Yochanan kara lemanei michabdusa. Rabbi Yochanan called his begadim michabdi. He called them that it's my honor. My begadim are my honor. Now again, we're not talking about Rabbi Yochanan went out and bought himself a designer suit, and he was so happy wearing his fancy custom-made suit. This is not what we're talking about. Rabbi Yochanan was so happy with his begadim. What was begadim? His tzitzis, his tefillin, the mitzvahs that he probably had a gartel also, and these were the things that he felt were his covet. This was what gave This is what gave Rabbi Yochanan the covet. As Rabbi Nachman writes, look how Rabbi Nosson calls Rabbi Nachman, Rabbeinu Neira Yair, the candle that's lit. So beautiful. B'chol bechinas hakavod shel kol ha'asara ma'amoros Kula mikablim mibechinas mamor ha'elyon shu bereishis Mimer sasam. So we said like this: all of the Esem Amoris that HaKadosh Baruch Hu used to create this world and everything of the world and everything of creation, all of the Olamos and all of the everything of everything. Really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have made everything with the first word, with just Bereshis. He didn't have to say 10 utterances, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu used 10 utterances. And we said there's the idea of the Mimer Sasim. And I'll just review it one quickly, the same way we have the example of the Mem, right? Sometimes we have a Mem that's open. The Mem is opened when it's in the beginning of a word or middle of a word. But that same Mem is now Sasim, it's closed when it goes at the end of the word. At the end of the word. So that's regarding, let's say, the Mimer Sasim. Really, the Mimer Sasim somehow has more kedusha in the Mimer Sasim than it is in the Mimer that was Megullah, that was revealed. Why? Because the whatever was revealed, it has so much potential in it because it was revealed. But whatever wasn't revealed has so much more potential because it could be anything. In other words, the Mimer Sasim can be mamish anything. If you think about it, so it's an amazing concept. Really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made everything yesh. He made the world yesh me'ayin, right? So in other words, me'ayin. Ayin is absolute nothingness, and He made something from nothingness. But that that idea of the ayin, where a person can say, aye mekayim kivayda, he realizes he's tapping into that place. Unbelievable idea. So really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have made the world in one Mimer, in one Bereshis, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in 10. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu infused so much kedusha inside those words, because when the words are written, you know that there's spaces in between the words, right? How do you make a word? You make a word, you put a letter and a letter and a letter and a letter, and then you make a space to make another word. In each word, there is a Mimer Sasim in between, because there's spaces in between each letter. And there's spaces in between each word. So there's really a Mimer Sasim stuck into each and everything of the Torah itself. And that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the chiyas to all the things of chitzonius. All the things of chitzonius of the world, all the things that are not connected to kedusha, all of the things that are the opposite of kedusha, all of those things are still getting their source from the Rabbeinu Shalom, but it's coming from the Mimer Sasim. It's coming from something that's not, because we said yesterday, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't give His kavod to the things that are not connected to kedusha. Shemisham nimshach chiyas afilim kamis chitzaynim. Okay, v'alkein misaknim abegodim sheheim bechinas hakavod, and therefore the tzitzis can be misakin the begodim, which is an aspect of kavod. Ayadei tzitzis through the tzitzis sheheim bechinas hakavod elyon, because the tzitzis are kavod elyon. Why the tzitzis kavod elyon? He's going to say, we're going to learn in a minute. Bechinas bereishis Mimer sasim. The same way that the Bereshis really is a Mimer Sasim, because again, like we said, that all the words, every word, even the word Bereshis, that was actually spoken, but if you look at the word Bereshis, you see there are spaces and everything else there. So there's a Mimer Sasim stuck into Bereshis as well. And that's why the tzitzis is made out of wool of a sheep, of a keves, right? Shehem yoitzim bechinas ayeh la'ayla. Again, connected to, we said that really in Bereshis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already prepared that sheep that was going to be there when it came to Yitzchak Avinu and the Maisa of the Akedah. When it came to the Maisa Akedah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already prepared the seh. He already prepared that seh in that place of Sasim. In that place of Sasim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already prepared the seh. And so now, and what do you make the tzitzis from? You make the tzitzis from the wool of the seh. Ki tzemer keves v'seah, because the tzemer of the keves and the seah, heim yoitzim v'chinas gavoya mi'oid kamuva b'ksavim. It's written in the Zayat, it's very, very lofty. Wool is a very special thing. Very, very special, because again, wool is connected to that seah, the ayeh aseh la'oila. And we said yesterday, when a person falls into a place, and he falls into a place that's not pleasing for the person to be, and he cries out, Aye mekayim kivaydai, aye mekayim kivaydai. When he does that, he mamish can tap into the chesed elyon, to the mamish, the highest places. Bechinas usar reisha, a reisha kama amar. Okay, and the hair on the head is like wool, is like clean wool. Interesting statement, very interesting statement. The Navi Daniel said this. The hair on the head is like clean, it can be like clean wool. What does that mean? That's why tzitzis are made specifically from tzemer. We said really tzitzis can be made from linen also, but we don't do that. We make the tzitzis from the tzemer. When you see the tzemer, now we're learning something interesting. So when you're looking at tzitzis, the Torah says, you're supposed to see the tzitzis. So you see the tzemer, you see the wool. The wool reminds you of a ayeh aseh la'oila. Where is that seh, which reminds you of the bereshis, the Mimer sasam? Shein bechinas asaris, bechinas asar roishe, the hair on the head. Hainu shein bechinas mama elyon. Because it's the Mimer, it's connected to the Mimer sasam. Al kein ha'arasam rak bechinas aretz sheim sesumim. V'arasam betzimtzum gadol mi'oid bechinas Mimer sasam. It's all connected to this idea of the Mimer sasam, where the thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't say is so much kedusha inside there. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kedusha is so high, it's so lofty, it even goes to these far places. And we learned the concept like this, that a tzaddik, the greater a tzaddik is, the higher he can go, is the lower he can go in order to help people. Right? You know, if a tzaddik is very, very high, the higher level that tzaddik is on is the lower level he can go without getting in trouble, without getting affected. That's connected to lesson Ches in Likutey Maran, that idea. So here we're saying that really that when that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's place is so high, it can go to the lowest places in this world, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's can be in those places, but not the covet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's covet's not there because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not showing himself out in those places. Even though he's giving life to those places, he's not shown over there. And the tzitzis can be misaknim and make big day hakavod. Ki kol bechinas hakavod mekablim misham, because the whole idea of the kavod, the whole idea of the tzitzis is the kavod mekablim from there. Veheim shmira min haklipa sumisaknim hira alev, and they can fix the person's hira alev. We know that the lave, the heart desires, the heart wants, the heart is pushing and pounding, right? The heart is pounding and it wants things. But when a person looks at the tzitzis, if you're having thoughts that you don't want to have, and you look at, so stop and look at the tzitzis. Look at those tzitzis. Remind you of the Mimer Sasa, remind you of the covet of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, remind you, these are the begonim of covet. They can fix the hira alev when a person's having thoughts that he doesn't want to have. It says by the parsha tzitz, it says in the parsha tzitzis. So what does it do? It has an aspect of a loisa surah. When I see the tzitzis, It can help me to not go after the desires of my heart. My heart is sometimes going to take me to the wrong place. We know that the Yetzer Hara is in the heart. That's why David HaMelech said he has a cholol b'kirbi. What was the cholol b'kirbi? David HaMelech, through fasting, he was able to vanquish his Yetzer Hara. He got rid of it. And that was the space, the void he had in his left side of the heart where the Yetzer Hara. But we don't have that. We still have the Yetzer Hara. And the Yetzer Hara, so what we're saying is that when we look at the tzitzis can give us a jolt to remind us what we're supposed to be doing in the world. Unbelievable. When a person can say aye mekayim kivaydai, when a person looks at the tzitzis and he says aye mekayim kivaydai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know you're here. But where is your covenant, Hashem? Where is your covenant, Hashem? I know you're here because this place exists, because you're giving it existence. And if you didn't give it existence, it wouldn't be here. When a person can be megala he puts him to the highest place. Misham mekablam chiyas, and that's where the chiyas comes from. And through that they can make a tikkun. And then it says, see the tzitzis, and you can remember all of the mitzvahs. We said, how do you do that? Because of the 32 strings. 32 strings, and 32 is Lamed Beis. And we said, Le'enei Kol Yisrael is the last letter of the Torah, and the first letter of the Torah is Bereshis, which is a Beis. So when you see the tzitzis, you can remind yourself all of the mitzvahs, because all of the Torah is from the first word of the Torah to the last. All the mitzvahs are in there. Ki kol mitzvahs kulam tuluyim bezeh. All the mitzvahs are totally in this idea of the tzitzis. Ki tzitzis ein bechinas mama elyon, because the tzitzis is something so high. Bereshis, which is the Mimer Sosim, Shu Koilul Kol Amaris, which is inclusive of all of the Mamaris. Everything in Bereshis, when Hashem said Bereshis, all the Mamaris were included in the Bereshis. In that Mimer itself. And that's why the tzitzis cover us. They surround us. They surround us on the four corners. Why the four corners? L'sakim bechinas v'noiga lo saviv. V'noiga lo saviv. The noga, klipas noga, all the things in this world are the klipas noga, everything. Not everything, but everything could be sometimes a klipa noga. What's no good is no good, but everything else could be klipas noga. And to remind us, when we drink our coffee, we make the bracha, we do it the right way. And when we see things, we look at it the right way, and we recognize the hashgacha pratis and everything. And so when you have the tzitzis, K'may shemuva b'divrei Rabbeinu neira yor, as Rabbeinu Zal he brought gam isa shetzitzis keneged noiga. Rabbi Nachman says that the tzitzis are keneged noga, klipas noga. In other words, when I see the tzitzis, I can remind myself to use everything in the world for the right reason. Not for the reason necessarily of pleasure, but to recognize that Kodesh Baruch Hu's covered. Like David, you were reading just before, right? In other words, the greatest level is when I can see something and I recognize that Kodesh Baruch Hu's covenant. I'm doing it for our Kodesh Baruch Hu. I'm trying to connect the Shekhinah back to our Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's the greatest thing that I can do. Tzitzis can help me with that. That's why tzitzis is surrounding me. Gam heim arba ruchais. V'zeh remez al bechinas aye. Ukishenoifel adam chas v'shalom l'makay ma'isei l'rachman l'tzlan. And if a person falls to these places, that a nice Jewish boy doesn't belong to these kind of places, we all understand. Ozu mechapes u'mevakesh aye. And that place, in that place, he cries out, and he's searching, and he's crying out, Aye, where are you, Hashem? What am I doing here? But he recognizes Hashem there. V'zeh tikunai, and that's his tikkun. That's his very tikkun, when he can recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that place. And that's the idea of the four corners of the tzitzis. A person is mechapes, he's searching and he's requesting in every corner. Where are you, Hashem? Look what's going on in the world. The world's falling apart. But when we recognize that we say and we scream out, Hashem, where is your covet? Where is your covet, Hashem? That can bring the tikkun. That's the tikkun. Because the tzitzis is an idea of aye. Why is it aye? Because we said the tzitzis is made out of tzemer, made out of wool, right? And by the aked there was aye asela oila. And then we said that the seh was prepared when? By Mimer Bereshis. So the tzitzis is an aspect of aye. And that's how a person can have tikkun. Because he goes back to that place of the Mimer Sasam, of Bereshis, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu was creating the world. All of the creation was in the word of Bereshis, had all the Esem Amoris were in that one Mimer that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. And that's why the tzitzis are in the four corners. B'chol tzad shepoina. Any place a person turns, moitzi sham Hashem yizbarach. He can find Hashem, like the Shulchan Aruch says, Shevisi Hashem lenegdi summit. Hashem, you're always there. But the tzitzis can help to remind me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there with me. Because that's why the tzitzis are on all four of my corners. If I turn to the right, I turn to the left, I turn back, I turn this way. I go east, west, north, south. It doesn't matter. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're there. It's an amazing concept to realize we wear the tzitzis, but to realize what an effect the tzitzis really can have on us if we think about it. It's there. Unbelievable, right?
We learn about it.
No, like you were saying before with the tefillin, right? You do the mitzvah tefillin. You have to each thing. If you don't tie the knot right on the tefillin, so then you don't have the. If you don't have the yud in the bag, it's no tefillin. If you don't put the parsha in the right way, it's not tefillin. All these things are so medukdak, right? You have to be so careful of each thing because that's wow, unbelievable. You have to learn. That's it. Ki bechinas aye. What?
We just had this in the.
No, that's what he was saying.
It's every time we do our lessons, it always connects stuff, right? Every single time, every time, it never fails, right?
Never. Even here, you have the hair.
The hair, right? The tunnels of the hair. The hair is mamish like he brings the pasuk from Daniel. Right? He brings this pasuk from Daniel. The hair on your head is mamish like pure wool. David, I'm telling you, we couldn't make this, all right? Unbelievable. Oh, Baruch Hashem. The Tanya Yom, he always falls in with our Likutey Halachos. Unreal. Okay, Bechines Aye, Hu Tikunai. Aye is the tikkun from the person when he falls to these places, to remember HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there. And that's what we do, really what we have to take from this lesson. That when we see the tzitzis, no matter where we find ourselves, sometimes we find ourselves in these unattractive places. Hashem is testing us. What are we going to do there? It's a test. I didn't really want to be. The person doesn't want to be in a place of that's not very nice, right? But when he's there, what do? So we're learning if you can cry out, look at the tzitzis, that could be the tikkun right there. You can mamish lift yourself up to the highest place. I'm not saying anyone should go to any places they shouldn't go to, but if chas v'shalom, a person's fine. Now we're learning what we can do if we find us, okay. Because aye is the tikkun, and with that he can mamish find for himself HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mamish by crying out aye, and I recognize that Hashem is in that place, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu's covet's not there. But I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there because I know that the place is existing. So if the place exists, I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there. But I don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why I cry out, Aye Yasel Oila, Aye Mekayim Kivayda. That's why when we say Kedusha, right? When we say Kesser, we say Aye Mekayim Kavod, we're supposed to lengthen the Aye. You ever hear that? You're supposed to lengthen the Aye.
Shlomo always does that.
Right? No, it's written in the Sfarim that the Zohar, we're supposed to lengthen the Aye. And you can daven for a few different things. You can have in mind, when you say the Aye, you can have three things in mind. You can have, number one, you can have that you can have a Bechina of Ruach HaKodesh. That's one idea. The other idea is you can daven that you can have, the children should go well, everything should be good with the kids, they should be this. And the other thing you can daven, you can have a mamash become an Oisha Muflug.
Three good options.
All idea in this ayah. But that's why there's such a...
What's the last one mean?
You're a very wealthy person. You can be very wealthy, but again, to use the money in the right way.
Yeah.
Not chas v'shalom for the wrong thing, but use the money to give tzedakah and do things. So we see there's so much connected to this word ayah. It's unbelievable. And who would have not recognized that the Yitzchak Avinu says v'ayah seloila, v'ayah seloila. What when Yitzchak Avinu was really saying, unbelievable. Do you have any questions or comments? Anyone say anything on Beis? You have any questions or comments?
Maybe if you could just go through the flow again from Bereshis to the connection to Yitzchak to Bereshis.
Okay, so we learned yesterday.
Why Hashem did use 10 rather than 1?
So we said that we learned like this. That really HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have made the world with one Mimer. But Chazal teach us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually made the world with 10 Maimarim, because this way it could be Schar and Einish. Schar and Einish. Because if he just made it with one, he wouldn't get, there wouldn't be too much on it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in 10, and this way it's all connected to Eses Sfiras, and then we have the Aseres Adibras, right? 10 people for a minyan brings the Shechina. It's all connected. Okay. But really it could have been one. It could have been just one Mimer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have just said Bereshis, and everything could have been, it was all included in the Bereshis. It was all included. So we learned yesterday, really, in the Bereshis was also included this idea of the Seh, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepared that Seh that was going to be there. Where did that Seh come from? Right? The Malach says to Avram Avinu, Al Tishlach Yodcha Alana, right? Don't slaughter Yitzchak. He turns around and there's something moving around in the bush. Where'd it come from? Where'd it come from? So the Zohar says it came from the Mimer Bereshis, from the Mimer Sasam was already prepared then. That set was already prepared there. So then we learned like this. So we said that, and then we learned the idea that the wool is an aspect of chesed. The wool is an aspect of something very, very lofty that's connected to the Mimer Sasam, right? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu had in Bereshis, the wool, the set was connected. So we know that really the wool is really something special. And that's why we make the tzitzis specifically, we make the tzitzis out of wool. Even though you could make the tzitzis out of linen, we don't do that. Right? Because the linen, we learned about the linen. The linen is really the sign of din. We don't. So I want to remind myself of the chesed of Hashem. Remind myself of the Mimer Sasam. The Torah tells us, is kol mitzvahs Hashem, when I see these tzitzis. So how am I going to do that? Because I remember there really is the Mimer Sasam with that place of Bereshis. The whole of Torah was included in that Bereshis. Everything was included in Bereshis, that one word. So was the wool. So it can remind me that we still learned about the 32, and then we learned, but here's a new concept that really it's connected to the Mimer Sasam, but the Seh was already in Bereshis. When I see the wool, I remind myself of that, and really all of the Torah is included in this, because that's when it was in with the same Mimer, Bereshis was already included, all Torah. So then we're learning like this, and then if a person, we said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's covered, he doesn't go to the places that are not of holiness in the world. Although HaKadosh Baruch Hu he has elikus in it. There's elikus in it, because if it didn't have elikus in it, it couldn't exist. If it didn't have godliness in it, couldn't exist. So when a person falls to those places, and where does it come from? It comes from the ayah. It comes from that place. It comes from the Mimer Sasam that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives his elikus to the things of impurity of this world. It comes from that Mimer Sasam. So, and that Mimer Sasam, that when a person falls to a place, into one of those places, and he recognizes, oh, how did I fall into this place? How did I fall so low? What am I doing over here? And he cries out, I know Hashem, I know I'm here, and I know that if the place exists, I know it's you, you're here. But I don't see you, Hashem. I don't see you. He cries out, Aye. And that Aye connects him back to Bereshis, to Mimer Sosam. It connects him back to the highest place. And that's what we said, when we look at the tzitzis, we can connect ourselves to that place. So that's really to summarize the whole thing. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any
One other question. You said something.
Please.
You said that the place where the impurity gets its vitality from was like in the spaces of the Mimer Sasam.
No, every time, no, so the concept is like this. Mimer Sasam is everywhere. We know we have the white part of the Torah and the black part of the Torah. The white part of the Torah, we're going to say now, is the Mimer Sasam. I don't know what it is. It's there. It has potential to be anything. The letters that are there are the letters. The words are there.
Black fire and white fire.
White fire and white, yeah, exactly. So what's the white fire? The white fire is really the Mimer Sasam. That's really the Mimer Sasam.
mystery.
It's the because it can be anything.
Sealed.
It can be anything. It's sealed. It can be anything. What was already revealed, it was revealed. The same way you can have thoughts in your mind. I don't know what they are, right? I don't know. But when you say something, you said it. Then I know what you said. But what's in your mind, I don't know. You can have unlimited things in the mind and unlimited potential. But if you don't reveal it, you don't reveal it. But it has the ability to be anything. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Shkoyach, everyone.